Hey, today I am making chicken pot pie, and this is one of my favorite recipes to make because wherever you get chicken pot pie, they don't put enough chicken in it. And so I wanted to make this a high protein version of chicken pot pie. So this works really well with homemade crust. The crust really matters if you can make it homemade. You can see one of my other videos on making homemade crust. So I will show you that rolling out the crust as part of making the chicken pot pie. The first step is to pre-cook the chicken in the oven. And I cook mine for 11 minutes at 425. You can cook it at 350 for longer if you wish. So I take 4 breasts because I'm making two pies. So I have a roasting pan with aluminum foil. I'm going to put a little oil on. And I'm going to take off any grizzle on the breasts and then salt and pepper them. And these are ready to go in the oven. And I'm going to use 2 onions. You can use 1 to 3 onions for these 2 pies. And I'm going to saute that for 5 to 7 minutes and about a 1/4 stick of butter. So a lot of butter because that's going to be used when I put the flour in. So I am sauteing the 2 onions in about a 1/4 stick of butter. And you can see that 4 or 5 to 10 minutes. So these are 4 medium-sized carrots sliced into small-ish pieces. I'm going to put these in the microwave for about 5 minutes with some water just to soften them up a little bit because I like them cooked more than they'll cook in the pie, but you can just put them in as is. You don't have to pre-cook them. Now, to make the roux, I'm going to slowly put in 3/4 cup of flour and mix it in. This will help make the sauce thicker. This recipe is a little bit more involved than some of my other recipes, but it's worth it for the great result. So 3/4 cup of flour. And then about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And the butter will absorb all of that. And so it looks something like that. Now is the time for 3½ cups of chicken stock. Mix that in. Bring that to a simmer. Add salt and pepper to taste, about 1 teaspoon of salt. And I have found 20 grinds works good. So maybe a teaspoon of pepper. And I use 2 teaspoons of a garlic and herb mix of spices. It's a half. So that's 2 teaspoons of garlic and herb Italian mix. Next, I'm going to add the carrots. Next is 1/3 of a cup of frozen peas. Next, I am going to cut the chicken into bite-sized pieces for the pie. And you want the chicken to be 90%, at least 90% fully cooked. It's going to cook more, but I like to have it 90% cooked. So I'm going to add all of the rest of the chicken to the stovetop. And you can see that there is a lot of chicken in this mix. This is all fully cooked now, but when it will go in the oven, the crust will cook more and this will cook more. So turn that heat off, stir it good. I'm just going to take that off the heat because it's starting to stick on the bottom a little. Thankfully, it's not burning at all. And that's the insides are done. Now for rolling out the pie crust. So here we are rolling out the pie crust for the chicken pot pie. Now this is a little bit tricky. You want a cool surface, cool dough, and use lots of flour. So that's one reason I don't put a lot of flour in the original dough, because I know it's going to pick up flour through this process. So plenty of flour down below. I hope this works. I haven't done this in a while. Put some flour on the roller. And the secret is to work a little bit fast. You don't have all day before it heats up and the butter melts and it sticks to everything. So turn it. You can flip it. And part of the secret is you do not have to go out to the edge all the way. That will naturally take care of itself. So it's not sticking to the counter at all. And I'm going to put some butter on this before I forget. Put butter in the pie pan. And again, you don't have to really do the far edges. Okay, this is sticking out a little in this, and I want more over here. So I actually took some out, and I'm going to mash it back in. I'm not a professional pastry chef, but I found a way that I can get this to work. Okay, I can tell it's at its final stages. It's consistent throughout. I think it's about the right size. So I'm going to fill the pie pan with the insides. And I'm going to make one pot pie tonight. I'm going to save the insides for another day. So all the chicken is fully cooked now. It was 80 to 90%, then on the stove top goes to 100%. It's a surprisingly colorful dish. Okay, I think that's about half. Now you can make it with a bottom crust, but this crust is so much flour and so much butter that I just make it with the top crust. You can make it with the bottom crust, and if you do that, I like to cook the pie pan with the bottom crust on its own for just a few minutes to get it cooked so it's not so doughy. So have it cooked. And make some holes so steam can escape. And I think I'll do an egg wash. Okay, this is 1 egg with a tablespoon of milk. I think this makes the crust come out browner, gives it some color. It's really not a necessary step. And just brush it on. If you find your crust is burning, you can wrap the crust with aluminum foil as it cooks. So this is going into a 375 oven, so I put it in for 30 to 40 minutes until the crust is golden brown. Now, as it cooks, the insides come out, and it does have a tendency to overflow and fall into your oven, so I put it on a roasting sheet. So 365 to 375, I will check it in a half hour. Again, this is probably one of my more involved of the recipes, but it has a ton of chicken. It probably double or triple the chicken you'd get at a supermarket chicken pot pie. So it's very delicious, and with the homemade crust, it's just better than restaurant quality. So here is the finished chicken pot pie. He's coming over to take a look or smell. So I forgot to put in a half a cup of milk into the mix. So you can do that after you take it off the stove. I don't like to mix in the milk too early. You can see it does overflow a little. That's normal, which is why I use a baking sheet. And the egg wash made a nice brown to it. So you can let it sit for a few minutes to cool down, and then plate it. So here it is plated. Lots of big chunks of chicken, some carrots, and some peas for color. And there you go. This is one of my more involved meals, but you get a wonderful pot pie like you've never had before. And I have the insides and another crust ready to go in the fridge, which I'll make in a few days. Enjoy. It's one of my favorite recipes.